What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And this one wants to break down what's going on with NIO stock, what's going on with SPY, Tesla, the QQQ, Apple, and a couple of other tickers. Talk about some very important things going on with the market and why the market dropped the way it did. And how NIO is looking so far from a technical standpoint, as NIO is still showing some relative strength. But before I do anything like this, though, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon, ends in just about 8 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with NIO and the overall market. NIO is down 1.71% for the day as of right now. I'm recording this very close to market close, a little bit earlier than usual, but overall it's still doing quite well. And here's the reason why. The market tanked today after we got some bad data. And as the market tanked, NIO ended up dropping, but it wasn't really that bad because NIO held support. And this is the very historical support at 10.5. We were talking about this level being tested. You could see NIO is showing some strength because NIO did not flush down, didn't just crash. It came down and bounced before the market did, holding support quite nicely. But the question is, how will NIO move going into tomorrow? That's why I want to talk about some news and some other important factors. For today, basically what happened was all the data that came out was quite decent and a little bit not that great, I would say. So what was decent was we had the PMI report, which was still a little bit above 50. That was all decent. The services data was decent. The only thing that was bad was the services prices went up to 58.9 on the index relative to 56.4. Despite the fact that everything was quite okay, a little decent, this was pretty bad, telling us that there's a sign that inflation is going up. With the oil cuts going on in Saudi Arabia right now, I mean the production cuts basically, that is not good news as well. It could lead to more increases in oil and other prices, and there are fears that inflation is going to start going up. As a result, some of the Fed speakers that spoke today are saying that the Fed may have to raise rates, again, and that is once again spooking the markets. Now, when it comes to NIO, I want to just talk about some important things. NIO Summer is a global summer party for NIO users and friends, and this year NIO Summer went global, sharing delicious food in Sweden and outdoor activities. So very, very awesome stuff is going on for NIO, getting more and more of their community together. The fun is on for them. We're going to be seeing more and more events like this, which is pretty awesome. Now, on top of all of this, there is some news that came out about how the Model 3 Highland has caught the attention of William Lee Bin, and this is making lots and lots of headlines. You can see right over here at the Munich Auto Show in Germany, there was a surprise guest to see the Tesla Model 3, and this was NIO's CEO, William Lee Bin, who was right there. There's a picture of him. He was there as well, looking inside of the vehicle just to see how it's looking. Now, this led to some controversy because other people out there are saying that NIO has a tendency of copying their rivals, especially Tesla, when it comes to their goals and ambitions and the robotaxi. But the truth is, you could argue whatever you want about that. The bottom line is, how is this going to affect NIO? As long as they're not breaking any laws, right? As long as they're not doing anything infringing on Tesla, they're going to be fine. Tesla released their patents, so they're completely fine with them getting inspiration. But NIO is not the exact same as Tesla. Could they get ideas from it? Sure, but they're not exactly the same. NIO has a different business model. We have the NIO phone coming out relatively soon. They have different ideas. They have battery swapping, which is different from Tesla. So there are things that are very different as well. But the question that matters most to investors is, how will this affect the share price for the long term? For the long term, NIO is set for some very extensive growth, and learning from Tesla could help NIO too. And I just hope they continue to improve based off what the bigger picture is. I want NIO to just maintain very good ethics in the process, but I'm still optimistic. I can't wait for what the future holds. Anyways, when it comes to NIO's ET7 sedan, some people are saying that it's very similar to the Model S. Not necessarily, but there are some similarities here and there, sure. And with that said, I'm still very happy that NIO has its differences, such as battery swapping, battery swap stations, and etc. And that's very awesome because they're the ones that committed to it, unlike Tesla. So there are differences too. So we can't just hold this against NIO. Now, when it comes to NIO, Mizuho is saying you should buy NIO. The price price ratio is going up a little bit, showing that NIO is gaining some strength relative to the market, which is pretty good. And on top of this, when it comes to seasonality, Thursdays tend to be green only about 51% of the time, so it's pretty much just 50-50. And the short interest went up to about 14 million shares. On top of all of this, NIO's volume was about 26 million. Very, very flat volume, so it's dropping on low volume, which is quite good. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. Looking at SPY, we had quite a bit of a drop today. We saw this thing come down pretty hard. Now we're forming kind of like a V-shaped like recovery, and this thing may continue trying to recover going into tomorrow, depending on how we open. Now, if we do see a push up tomorrow in the recovery phase, we could see SPY trying to make its way back up to 448 if we manage to hold above the 50 EMA at 446.5. If that happens, we could see a nice recovery for tomorrow as the market is quite oversold. That's really on the table. We have a potential inverse head and shoulders as well that develops. So there's a possibility of this getting a recovery tomorrow, making an attempt to get back to these higher levels, but no guarantees as long as we hold these supports. On Tesla, we have another potential nice recovery phase forming, potential bullish triangle. We could see Tesla start pushing for 255 or higher tomorrow if we continue to break above the 200 EMA and hold above 250. That is likely what's going to happen. With the market potentially bouncing, NIO came down, but it didn't really crash. We actually had 10.5, which is our historical support, before we made an attempt to bounce. When you zoom out of the charts like this, you will see there's a clear inverse head and shoulders structure. And NIO could be getting a bounce in the future once it could break and hold above the 200 EMA. So far, NIO hasn't done that, so we're not too worried about that. So we're going to take this one step at a time. So that's like the hourly 200. I want to talk about the current 200 right now. We want to see NIO try to get above 10.7. I think NIO is going to test this tomorrow and try to break to 10.7, then make its way back up to 10.9. I think it's just going to chop around the very high 10s and get a somewhat green day for tomorrow. Aapl is down over 4.2%, continuing to free fall, but it is forming a bullish divergence as of right now. A micro-sized bullish divergence is starting to form. So there's a chance Apple's going to make an attempt to bounce. It's also super, super oversold. Crazy, crazy drop on Aapl. There's going to be a bounce coming. It could bounce here. Maybe it goes down to like 180, then it bounces, but somewhere it's getting very close to bottoming, and we're going to see a bounce very soon on Aapl, in my opinion. This is like very oversold. It needs to bounce soon. I think this is going to help the QQQ try to bounce too and make its way back up, as it's also forming an inverse head and shoulders like structure to push back up to 376 plus. So I'm looking for a bounce in the markets. Nvidia may, excuse me, Nvidia may try to push back up to about 473 plus to get back to 478. I think there's going to be a small bounce. I think the odds favor that, so we're just going to get ready for that for the time being. But anyways, guys, hopefully this video was helpful for all of you. I'm going to be looking for a bounce throughout the market from Tesla, SPY, and the QQQ. I think NIO should make its way back up above 10.7 as time goes on. With that said, I thank you all so much for listening. Please remain calm, cool, and collected. And hopefully you guys are doing very well, especially if you're holding on to like shares of different companies. I want the best for everyone. Thank you. NIO to the moon, because the long term is very bright, and peace out.